The only person that has the power to stunt your action is you. You may be aware that I've been working on a book for the past 2 years. This book is called The Concept Swimmer. Because when you realize this, you can get out of your own way. To be punny, the whole concept behind The Concept Swimmer was that I could never really commit to a book on a single concept. I would never have enough to say to fill a front to back cover. At least it didn't feel like I did. But I had just enough in me to say just enough about a lot of things. Cheers. This was written before Corona. All these concepts were pre-2020. Choose light. How often does your brain entertain worst-case scenarios of certain situations? How about the best-case scenarios? When I engage in my own tornadoes of worst-case scenario contemplation, it seems that I do so under the guise that I'm providing myself with more security by preparing for every possible situation. What's dangerous about this tendency is that our brains can eventually become convinced that these worst-case scenarios are definite realities, ultimately nudging out the existence of any positive possibilities. Let's do our spirits a favor and imagine only the best. Although the contents of the future may be beyond our predictive grasp, we can still choose to fill ourselves with more light than darkness all along the way. That feels pretty good. This concept. This one tends to stare at me. The only thing stopping you is you. That's the concept title. The only thing stopping you is you. I love this set of words, precisely because when you realize this, you can get out of your own way. The only person that has the power to stunt your action is you. Sure, other humans can give you thoughts that can debilitate you. Sure, certain circumstances can paint certain pictures for you. At the end of the day, however, you are the one that receives life's impressions and creates ultimate meaning from them. You are the one that creates the blueprint for your future actions and inactions. You are the one. Of course, the divine forces play a bigger part in all of this than we may know. But I feel as if we too often undershadow the role we play in our own lives. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging our part in the creation process. We can't chalk up our entire situation to the idea that this is just how God wanted it to be for me. On the contrary, I'd rather admit to myself, this is what I've allowed to manifest for myself, and begin the process of manifesting a new and brighter future. Creating what will be all starts with accepting what is. Whew. That feels empowering. This next one really hits for me. It's called Building a Castle. Any grand endeavor can be likened unto building a castle. Think about all the things that could paralyze someone that sets out to build a castle. The first three things that come to my mind are, it'll take a long time, a lot of resources will be necessary, and it'll be ferociously difficult. What's discouraging about these three things is that each of them is to at least some degree true. However, does the fact that they're true mean that we shouldn't build the castle? For some, yes, it does mean that. And that's precisely because the energy required to build the castle is more intense than their desire to build it. And that's okay. It's almost like this process weeds out the individuals that never truly wanted to build the castle in the first place. If one looks at these three major obstacles and still finds themselves firmly planted on the rock of their plan, then we may have a success in the making. You must be so committed to the whys behind your drive that absolutely nothing can shake you. Now, no one is born having a high awareness of all their whys and purpose, so you shouldn't allow the idea that you weren't born this way to be your excuse. The way I developed a higher awareness of my whys and purpose was through the process of literally forcing myself to write them down. Sit down and attempt to write out 100 reasons as to why you should build your castle, parentheses, aka attain your magnificent dreams, end parentheses. Don't let the assumption that you already have a high awareness of your whys stop you from strengthening them even more. I'm going to end with this one because it's just irony that I'm staring at it. Don't be a tyrant to yourself. All right, I'll end after this one because I'm not going to be a tyrant to myself. Thank you so much for listening, y'all. Well, I'm gonna read this and then we're gonna be out. Don't be a tyrant to yourself. Sometimes I get so focused and action driven that I find myself bossing my own self around. Even though I harbor the grand intention of being extremely efficient while doing so, I can recognize a portion of myself almost growing to hate myself every time I push myself forward without kind regard. Whenever I consciously ensure that I'm being kind to all parts of myself, life becomes much smoother and more relaxed. If you find yourself in a constant spiral of productive work, that's beautiful. But be sure to give yourself a few minutes here and there to just ask yourself, is there something even more enjoyable I'd like to entertain myself with for a few minutes? I just asked myself that moments ago when I found myself scheduling back-to-back counseling sessions at my middle school internship. This was forever ago. I stopped myself for a moment and said, what if I wrote for 30 minutes before scheduling another session? I usually never write while I'm here, but here I am, enlivened by this newfound intersection between my professional environment and my loving passion. I hope you all find yourself at an amazing newfound intersection between your passion, all that you find that is awesome, all your worlds. Thank you so much for listening to this reading of The Concept Swimmer. I don't know if I'm going to call this journey number 1. Probably. Let's call it The Concept Swimmer, journey number 1. If you want to help me create this book, honestly, like I'm just getting my feet wet. I don't have a book out, so I'm looking at self-publishing options, and I'm looking into editors. I'm really new, so if you know of any muses or any ways to I'm trying to bridge this to the point where you can order it on Amazon. But to be honest, it's not the easiest thing to create a book, even when you're going the self-publishing route. But hey, if it were easy, everyone would do it. Even though I think everyone should do it. You got something in you. All right, peace. Stay awesome.